The Inkatha Freedom Party has unveiled its 13-point program of action as part of its manifesto. The party leader, Velenkosini Hlabisa, outlined the action plan during the IFP's manifesto launch at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in the heart of Durban on Sunday. Top of the IFP's agenda is to deal with the high unemployment rate, fix the country's energy challenges, which remain a thorn in the flesh for South Africans, and introduce a graduate grant to the value of 3,000 rand. IFP supporters and members packed the 56,000 capacity Moses Mabhida Stadium to the rafters. To talk to us about the IFP's manifesto, we are joined in studio by IFP Deputy President Inkosi Mzamo Buthelezi. So lovely to have you, and thank you so much for coming up to Joburg for this interview.
Thank you very much, Len, and good morning to you and your listeners.
As a party, you must be exceptionally happy with the turnout of supporters out to the manifesto yesterday. I mean, Chatsworth Stadium is where you were at the previous unveiling of a manifesto, and now jam-packed at the Moses Mabhida Stadium following from the ANC and the EFF. I mean, how are you feeling?
It's even on my face. The happiness is there.
I can feel it.
And everywhere I go, I just see that the IFP is back, full force. We are very happy about the attendance of Mabhida. It shows that we are ready to govern. We are ready that people give us the assignment to lead them.
Yeah.
And we're very much happy.
It's a tough one for you. Before we get into the points that you're saying, I mean, this is the first time that you're going into a national election without the face of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi.
Yes.
That's a big moment. However, you are using his image a lot. I mean, his face was flown across the stadium on this massive flag. On the book, I can still see on the front cover of your manifesto book, he is there together with your new leader. He's very much so entrenched. The T-shirt still emblazoned with his face. Let's talk about this and why keeping him as the face of the party.
I think it shouldn't be much of an issue because the Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is the founder of the IFP. So the party, for using his face, we mean to say that we are entrenched on the values and the principles that actually he entrenched us. So he will forever be with us. We'll never actually go without him next to us. Because even at Moses Mabhida, we could feel his presence. So this does not suggest in any way that there is a lack of trust among us as leaders, but it merely means that this is our founder, this is how much we cherish him, this is how much we are going to take his legacy forward. Because all that we exist for is to take his legacy forward and make sure that we build on the foundation that he laid.
I know it's hashtag Do It for Shenge.
Exactly.
Really bringing up the memories of the IFP founder and what he stood for. But again, I would like you to just ask that question, because some people do, or answer the question, some people do feel that perhaps this is a worry in terms of the leadership that's now in. You, of course, being the deputy, you've got your leader, Velenkosini, who is there. Is it a worry that perhaps not having him there, the party would lose its identity in a way?
Not necessarily. I think the number of people that attended the Mabhida Stadium is a sign that the IFP is growing significantly after the founder. So I think we've got things that we can refer to show that the current leadership is capable and able to take the party forward. Hence, therefore, our president has led us so well from 2019. We are very happy. The whole collective of the NEC and the National Council is able to take the party forward. So this does not suggest anything negative, but it means one thing and one thing only, that I've said that we are actually honoring his legacy. We are honoring the values and the principles that he left us.
All right, let's get into that 13-point plan, because for you, this is again a kind of rescue South Africa plan from the brink, because it seems that this is the theme that most opposition parties are taking when it comes to introducing what it is that your party is going to offer. I start off right at the top here, where you are saying end load shedding through a mixed, diversified energy system. How is that going to work?
I think first and foremost we need to begin by saying what has gone wrong, because we are 30 years into democracy. We can't shy away from the fact that so much has happened in our country, and we are very much proud of the strides that we have been able to achieve. But along the way, we have derailed as a country because we've neglected the very basic things that should have actually kept us going, so that we are a growing country, we are able to achieve our goals. The issue of load shedding, we'll understand that first and foremost what has been the cause is the political interference in the main by politicians on the operations of Eskom. And now when we say how are we going to address the issue of load shedding, as the IFP, we don't believe that we should abandon coal. Not at all. That's our abundant resource that we've got. We should actually try to revamp all our coal-powered power stations so that we don't actually compromise the growth of the part of the country. We don't compromise the growth of our economy by actually abandoning those coal-powered power stations. Secondly, by mixed economy, we must introduce, as we are currently doing as a country, the issue of nuclear energy and also encourage the use of other sources of energy, not totally relying on coal power stations.
Yeah, so that's your answer, and also very much so a private, a public-private partnership. I know
yes.
you emphasize on that.
Yes.
The DA emphasizing on that too.
Yes.
That's one of their ways that they are saying this is how we are going to get it right.
Yes.
Do you agree with them on that particular point that they are bringing forth too?
In fact, the IFP is on the record for a number of years because there's so much inefficiencies within the system. We need that capacity from the private sector to come in and also play a role because government alone cannot cope as we speak. All the challenges that we're experiencing are as a result of lack of capacity internally and also lack of the expertise that we need. Most people who are working for Eskom in particular left the public sector to a private sector because they are better taken care of there and there's no much interference. So bringing the two together will enhance our progress as a country. We are actually on record encouraging private-public partnerships because that is the only way to go.
Jobs, jobs, jobs. This is really one of your top priorities, if not the number one. This is the big one. And you talking, and here's a very interesting one that jumps out at me. Enforce an 80-20 employment target. Companies must employ a minimum of 80% South Africans.
Yes.
You're also saying that this must be, when it comes to spaza shops that are owned, small businesses, they must be wholly owned by South Africans. They must focus on local production and production of South African produced products, including local film, media and creative industries, and so on and so forth. It's a very localized plan that you've got here.
Yes.
But talk to us, how do we get this to work? I mean, if you are living legally in South Africa, how does that work?
As the IFP, we believe that it doesn't make sense that the very basic work that is there is taken over by foreign nationals. We don't say they shouldn't be actually catered for, but we're saying about 80% of the work should be actually given to South Africans because it can't be that we've got so many South Africans who are not working and we've got so many foreigners that are in our country that have taken over the work that has been actually, that should be taken by our own people. We say only on those special skills that are not in the country. And when they come here, we must bring those skills and we must have a clear plan as to how do they transfer those skills to our local people. Because it can't be that we can sit with so much unemployment and so many jobs, especially at the entry level, are taken by foreign nationals. So we are very clear on that one. We're unapologetic that the ratio should be 80% South Africans and 20% foreign nationals.
Yeah.
But only those that are in this country legally. Those that are not here, that are here illegally, they should pack. We'll give them 6 months grace period that they leave our shores or they show themselves to the authorities so that they can be regularized, failing which we'll deal with them.
You also, I mean, you're very strong on that. That's,
yes,
that's your third point.
So.
Illegal
yes.
foreigners. Basically saying that you're going to deploy the SANDF to the ports of entry and borders and fortify our borders through the construction of walls.
Yes.
So we're bringing up a Trumpian wall here to try and keep out illegal foreign nationals, strengthen border control, ensure integrity of our borders, and invest in state-of-the-art control technology. There's a lot. There is a lot that you go into foreign nationals and getting rid of illegal foreign nationals.
Yes, that is very important to overemphasize illegal because those are law breakers. You can't yourself wake up tomorrow, just go to Swaziland without going through the normal process. Why here in South Africa? All those borders are posing a risk to South Africa. We will actually erect walls so that there is better control.
Yeah, so that's the big point, but I want to talk about the job creation. How do you grow an economy? Yes, okay, of course we know we do have a lot of illegal foreigners here and a lot of skills that possibly could be used by South Africans are being taken that way, but that's not going to kill the problem that we have of unemployment. How are you going to grow this economy?
First and foremost, we need to industrialize. You know, the IFP has a track record. We know how to do that. In KZN, where we were in charge, in each and every district, there was an industry that is able to absorb so many people. We must industrialize, we must make sure that we encourage local production, and we must make sure that we help our entrepreneurs. In that manifesto, we are going to introduce a new conditional grant as the IFP that will be given to municipalities, which we call a local economic development grant, where our own people in the locals will be able to get substantial amount of money and proper support to make sure that they come into business, and they don't only come, they succeed in business. Proper assistance and coaching will be also available. So we're going to industrialize and make sure that we support them financially.
And you think this will grow the economy? You think this is the way to go?
It will, definitely, it will.
All right, we'll wait and see on that one. Crime and corruption. This is a big one too, and quite an interesting one, and gender-based violence, all lumped together. I want to talk about what you are proposing is to open up the national debate on reinstating the death penalty.
That's very correct.
And that's what you want to do, bring the death penalty back.
That is what we are going to do. We are going to open a dialogue so that we introduce the death penalty. You can't have a situation where our young women, and women in particular, can't walk freely on the street because they are fear for their lives. All these perpetrators of these heinous crimes, they should be dealt with accordingly. You can't actually allow people to continuously do the wrong, kill our women, rape them, and then they go to prison there and they enjoy the benefits more than people who are law-abiding citizens. That's why we're going to introduce the death penalty. But on specific issues, and we're going to have a specialized court that will actually deal with those cases so that we deal with crime once and for all. Because crime is a problem not only to our own citizens, but also it deters investment in South Africa. No one wants to invest in a country that is not safe. Even local people can't actually invest their monies in South Africa because they are not sure whether they are safe or not. We've seen looting, we are seeing housebreaking, we are seeing hijacking, all this kind of crime. The IFP will deal with crime once and for all, if we are given an opportunity.
One has to worry, when we talk about getting, the SANDF is one thing that you keep on mentioning a lot. At the borders, you also want to see a lot of the SANDF coming in and supporting the issue of high crime rates and going in and protecting communities. However, let's talk about KZN and let's look at the issue of a very high crime rate within KZN, particularly with political killings. I mean, we hear this all the time. And if you proposing something like a death penalty coming in for that, how is the IFP going to roll something like that and keep South Africa safe, where the province where you have a very high presence and it is a known fact that political killings are rife? Why is it not being protected in KZN, and talk about the safety of people in that province?
I think the other challenge is the fact that police themselves, the minister admitted to say there are criminals within the police service. What we are going to do with the IFP, we are going to vet every police officer to get rid of the rot from within, which is the first thing, and then capacitate the policies, give them enough resources to be able to deal with crime. Because sometimes you may find that somebody is attacked. When you phone the police station, they will tell the people that there are no vents. When you go there, you find 10 of them broken and not fixed. So we need to get all the basics right and give the police enough power to deal with crime. Because today, like one day I was passing through Opongolo, where there were protests there. People were physically handling police officers because they are hopeless. So we want to also capacitate them and give more power so they are able to deal with crime. So the IFP has the political will, and we know how to handle all these matters.
I mean, it's quite dramatic when you read what's going on with a lot of your councillors and party members being killed. Illegal firearms are being used. Political killings, you say, as a party, are because of the perception that councillors have lucrative opportunities, and there's just no unity and tolerance. And the worry is that as we build up to the elections, there's new entrants coming in. And we're going to focus a bit on Umkhonto we'll talk about the EFF, we talk about the DA, as well. Well, the DA is another conversation, and the ANC as well. And quite, a lot happening in this arena. Political violence and killings in the lead up to these elections. How are you going to curb and control this? Because this is always a very hot spot, so to speak, in election terms.
Yeah. You see, from my point of view, I don't think that we should raise some false alarms, because so far the new entrance of political parties has never actually caused any problem. In KwaZulu-Natal in particular, where you have asked, we have seen people, like when there are by-elections, moving across political parties, visiting each other, like hugging and kissing, which means that there is a maturity in terms of our democracy. But to preempt that there is potentially a threat, I wouldn't say I should get into that, because I don't believe that would be the case. We welcome all parties because it shows the maturity as far as our democracy is concerned, and it's not something that we should worry about.
Okay.
We should treat a case when it occurs.
Are you worried about MK? I mean, this
as the
it's a big one.
Not really, we're not worried.
Even though you're seeing a lot of polling coming in saying that, the MK are going to come in and they're going to come in strong. It is polling, we know that. It's research that's being done. But according to your sources within your party and your own polling, do you feel they'll have little effect when it comes to votes?
Definitely, they will have an impact, but not necessarily on our vote as the IFP. We believe that they take so much from the ANC, because we must remember that the members of the MK are disgruntled members of the ANC, so in the main. Even when it comes to us as the IFP, maybe here and there, but it's not something to worry about at all.
Really?
Yes.
You say that confidently. You're not worried about the MK party in KwaZulu-Natal at all, headed by the face of former President Jacob Zuma?
No, we are not.
Okay, we'll wait and see. Some questions here from viewers. Shane, I listened to their manifesto, 13-point plan. It was quite in sync and practical. 2 questions. 1, how do they intend to grow the IFP beyond KZN and Gauteng provinces? And 2, why is it predominantly led by traditional leaders from KZN? 2 nice points brought up there.
I think on the second point, it's not necessarily true that it's predominantly led by traditional leaders. It's not at all. The traditional leader that led the IFP was Umntwana, and was the deputy president, but the other members of the NEC are not traditional leaders. But the issue about traditional leaders is that we respect them so much because we believe that they are leaders on their own right and they are able to put our communities together. So the IFP will never abandon them. So as to how we grow the party beyond the KZN and Gauteng, we are actually have representation in Mpumalanga and Eastern Cape and other provinces. The thing is, we haven't identified leaders from those particular areas. It used to be our leaders from, say, KZN or Gauteng who goes there to mobilize, but there hasn't been leaders that come from that particular area, which will sustain our endeavors in terms of trying to grow the party.
Indeed. And
yes, but we are registered, of course, to all 9 provinces of South Africa.
So you will be contesting, as we know, all of the 9 provinces and hoping to see it grow quite substantially, because it's obviously your chunk of votes does come from KwaZulu-Natal. But we'll talk about that Moonshot Pact and that whole party manifesto in a short while to see how that should influence you. But you really have always placed traditional leadership at the center of your political governance strategy.
Yes.
And you write that as point 10 in the manifesto here.
That is true.
So that is at the heart, very much so, of what you're wanting to do.
Yes.
And pushed for the role, powers and functions of traditional leaders to be defined in legislation.
In the Constitution. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Because that is what our founder advocated for. And there was an agreement that was taken that after the elections, then the Constitution will be reviewed to provide for that.
Okay.
Yes.
Next question from Pule saying, does the IFP support expropriation of land without compensation?
No, we don't support expropriation without compensation. We support expropriation of land with reasonable compensation.
With reasonable compensation?
Yes, with reasonable
Perhaps
compensation.
you want to talk a little bit more about that.
Okay. Well, what we say, expropriating without compensation is not in the best interest of our economy, not in the best interest of our country. We believe that there are circumstances which are very unique where expropriation without compensation can be applied, but that must be done by an independent body. So those cases should be tested in court. If then the court grants that can be done, but not willy-nilly that we must expropriate without compensation. We don't support that.
Okay. Here's another one from Kuluba saying, does the IFP support the claim of Amahlubi to be an independent kingdom?
I think, in South Africa, we are a constitutional democracy. In particular in KZN, it's defined as to how do we become a king. There is legislation that defines that. So I will say then we can leave that to the relevant authorities to decide if Amahlubi themselves, they put forth their claim and then they substantiate it, then it can be decided on that basis.
Yeah, so it's still an open question, though. It is something that you...
Because for now, because I can't put one thing.
Yeah, all right. And how is the relationship with the King and the IFP? How are things going there, and the Ingonyama Trust and the governance thereof? There have been a lot of questions around this.
I think people are making a mistake. There isn't a special relationship between the IFP and the King. But we respect the King and the monarch because we fought for that before our democratic dispensation. But it doesn't suggest that there is a special relationship, as people will say. We will pay our allegiance to the King because he's the King of the province and he's our King as the Zulus.
I want to now move...
And the issue of Ingonyama Trust, the IFP believes that that is one piece of legislation that when we take over, we are going to champion in every province, because Ingonyama Trust is the best piece of legislation which guarantees that people have access to land and they are controlling their own land. Okay. What people are saying, people like to talk about things that they don't know about. But if you go to KwaZulu-Natal and you interview people that are staying on Ingonyama Trust land, they will tell you that they own those land, they are able to do everything that they want, not the theory that people are speculating.
All right.
Yes.
Let's look at, obviously, I know you talk on healthcare as well, very much so the same, universal healthcare for everyone. The building and the creating of infrastructure and trying to fix all of that up. These are key points that are very similar to other political parties, and again on the trajectory of rescuing South Africa.
South Africa, true.
Yeah.
Because on the issue of health, the IFP, if you notice very well, our manifesto speaks to the basics, to say address the very basic. The infrastructure must be maintained. You must have clean hospitals. You must have doctors in those hospitals. You must have nurses who are well paid and well taken care of. We say everybody should have access to health, but the NHI, as the IFP, we say it's a noble thing, but we must do the basics right, because you can't introduce an NHI in a hospital that does not have any facility to even implement all the good wishes that the NHI wants to achieve. So the IFP make sure, like there are no ambulances in KZN and many other provinces. People actually die because they cannot have access to healthcare facilities. The IFP will make sure that all the basics are done correctly, and we take some of the powers from the provinces to district managers, and also from the national government to district managers, people who are hands-on on the work.
Okay, so if we look at this multi-party charter, because you, in your manifesto, the opening line, the president is basically saying our country stands on the brink of becoming a failed state.
Yes.
Do you believe that South Africa, without urgent intervention now, will become a failed state?
So. Without urgent intervention, we are going that way.
So the urgent intervention you're speaking about, and I think this also forms a part of this multi-party coalition that you are in, and we can remind viewers here who's in this multi-charter. Obviously, the DA were the ones that were spearheading this, the IFP, Freedom Front Plus, Action SA, ACDP, the United Independent Movement, the Spectrum National Party, the Independent South African National Civic Organization, the Ekhetu People's Party, and the United Christian Democratic Party. Do you think that this is going to have an impact on the elections going forward, and that these parties in name are bigger than those that are not in this multi-party charter?
You know, I'm not sure whether I should entertain much issues of the multi-party charter. I would prefer to stick to the IFP Manifesto, because you must remember that the multi-party charter is not a political party. It's just a forum of different parties. And as the IFP, we are a unique party, we're an independent party, we've launched our own manifesto. But when then it comes on the 29th of May this year, the ANC is below the 50%, then we'll be able to form government. But I don't think I should take so much of our time discussing matters of multi-party charter.
I think it's important, because a vote for you means a vote for this.
It does not
this
at
agreement.
all.
So it doesn't. From your understanding, that if in fact there are coalitions that happen, these coalitions would result predominantly with these parties.
That's a confusion I want to run away from, to say a vote for the IFP is a vote for the multi-party charter, because people ordinarily go and vote for any of this party hoping that they are voting the IFP. No. People should vote for Inkatha Freedom Party. Want to rule independently But if then we don't get the required majority, then we'll partner with any of the party that agrees to form government with us.
Which is where South Africa is headed, into
Yes,
coalition
that is
governments
true.
and coalition politics,
Yes.
which means that in a way they need to think when they're voting that you are associating with these parties. And I say that because also on
They
the
need
back...
to think IFP all the way, nothing else.
Sure. Okay, but let's talk about what the DA leader has said. And I say that because, again, I'm bringing into your affiliation with them. He came out and he was writing a letter to the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, asking for independent domestic observers, including capacitating civil organizations to oversee the elections, worrying that they're not going to be free and fair. Do you agree with his sentiments on that? Would you like to see
now,
something like that
I
happen?
don't want to be the spokesperson of the DA.
No, but be the spokesperson for your party.
Yes.
Do you worry about this?
As far as that is concerned, as I said initially, when we talk about the issue of inter-party conflict with the introduction of new parties, from where I sit, I haven't seen any threat.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say, put it that way. I haven't seen any threat that warrants anything to be worried about. I'm seeing democracy getting more and more matured. And then, if other parties have seen a threat, then they are free to express themselves anyhow. But from where I sit, I haven't seen that.
So from the IFP's perspective, going into these elections, you are confident things are going to be free and fair. You don't need any observers coming in that are needing to watch this because you've heard ramblings that there may be something that may go wrong.
Observers have been part of our elections
Absolutely.
from the word go.
But
so
in the
it's
form
not
that the DA
a
are
new
asking
issue.
for.
I wouldn't, as I say that, I wouldn't say there's much of a threat from my point of view because I don't want to create a particular alarm to people unnecessarily. So, as I'm saying, if other parties are foreseeing that threat, they are free to ask for any kind of help. But as the IFP has not done so, that means we don't see any threat at all. Because some will argue that the ANC will cling to power, they'll make all means, as if now, if the ANC happens to win the elections, that will amount to be some fraudulent activities. Is that the same if we win the elections? Should the ANC also view us as such? No. We trust our systems. We've got an independent electoral commission that has delivered so many elections and no one has complained. Even international citizens have never complained.
So I just want to get some clarity on something. We had the Freedom Front president sitting here, the leader, yesterday. He said that they were consulted, that the multi-party charter were consulted before they wrote that letter, and they wrote it on behalf of the multi-party charter to the US Embassy. So I just want to wrap this conversation up with saying, you knew nothing about this, you were not consulted when it came to this letter that was written.
Consultation was done. Hence, our party is part of the, what you call the multi-party charter.
For the letter?
Yes. That was written.
Consulted?
Yes, we were consulted, yes.
And you were happy with them to send it to the US Embassy?
Yes, we were, but as I say, you see, when you approach matters as a group, you will sit in a meeting and have a consensus. If the majority, the consensus says, no, we should actually write a letter, you wouldn't differ on your own and then write a letter opposing that. But our participation in that process does not mean we share the same views as the DA, because we find that the DA, in a scale of 1 to 10, they believe that 9%, 9 out of 10 elections won't be free and fair. Other part may tell that, no, it's only 2%. You see, so it varies.
All right.
Yes.
Let's park that one there. I want to talk about your stance on what's happening in Gaza, because, again, it's a question we've asked all of the political parties, and what you feel about the situation that's unfolding in Gaza and the stance that South Africa has taken in terms of trying to declare it through the International Court of Justice a genocide. Are you on that school of thought, or what are your views on this that you'd like to get out there?
I think our views as a party is determined by our policy proposition in terms of our international, what you call, policy, where we believe in, we engage with anyone on the basis of democracy, justice, civil liberties. But we also, in the issue of Gaza, we believe that the two-state solution will be the only solution. People should come together. They must discuss issues. They must be able to solve whatever that actually arises between them through negotiations. The killing of people, we reject that. it's not the right thing to happen, but we encourage dialogue. We encourage the facilitating of these two countries to come together and find a lasting solution, which would be a two-power state.
All right. I want to also talk about coalitions and going into these elections. Are there some parties that you look at and say, we will never work with them? Or are you happy to work with most parties? What is the criteria that you look for to go into a coalition with certain parties, whether it be the EFF, whether it be the ANC? Some people speaking to EFF, IFP coalitions, ANC IFP coalitions, DA coalitions. What do you look for? What do you sort of stay away from?
The IFP is open to any political party as long as they share our values and principles. They share the issues of good governance. We have worked with the EFF recently, and it decided to abandon us, but we've got no qualms about that. Any party that has a keen interest, so to say, to serve people of South Africa with integrity, who believes in the rule of law, who believes that South Africa needs to be actually taken to the right trajectory in terms of growth and economic stability. Any party that can come to the IFP, depending on its values, we are open to that.
I want to look at also your hopes for these elections, because if we look back over the years, from 2004, you garnered 6.9% of the national vote. I'm only looking at national now. 2009, it went down to 4.5%. Then 2014, 2.4%. A big drop. Then we start seeing going up again. 2019, 3.3%. And now we sit in 2024. What are you hoping for?
We're hoping to actually achieve more than 10% as the IFP nationally. That's our target. That's our wish.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Where do you think the majority of these votes will come from? Still from the KZN? You want to get over 10%?
Of course, the majority come from KZN, Gauteng, and also other provinces. What has happened now, even this propaganda, because many people didn't vote for the IFP because of the propaganda that we are a part that kills people, we are a part that is very regional, we are aggressive and all that. But people are slowly becoming aware now and very conscious of how much the IFP can offer. Hence, you see our growth.
And that's going to be an interesting one. It certainly is going to be an interesting one to watch if, in fact, you can beat that.
Yeah,
some nice. We've still got a little bit of time, so I'm so happy we can go into a little bit of the nitty gritty into your into some of the things that you're asking for. This 3,000 rand grant. I think that's one where we're talking about unemployed graduate grant. 3,000 rand for a fixed period to assist graduates to find meaningful employment. Talk a little bit more about this one, because I think this may attract people, and especially students, that find themselves in the most difficult of situations when they're trying to further their studies.
I think the idea behind that, first of all, that won't be like a permanent grant. It will be for a specific period of time. Because you'll understand that you've got students who go to universities, some are aided by NSFAS, but when they finish their education, then they go back to that poverty where they come from. So this grant will be a transit grant while they are still looking for a job for a specific period of time. Where the money is going to come from, we are going to reprioritize the budget and make sure that we make available some money so that it can cater for this. But also, on the other hand, while we are driving our economic growth, and we believe that more people will be employed, so no much of those graduates will be dependent on that, because many of them will be absorbed as we continuously grow our economy.
Fantastic. All right, you've got one last minute to speak to South Africa and tell them why they should vote for the IFP. What a vote for the IFP means to them.
I think a vote to the IFP means securing their own future. The IFP does not pride itself on the basis of our policies only, but we pride ourselves on the kind of leaders that we have. Leaders with a keen interest to serve, leaders that have a political will, leaders of integrity that will make sure that we listen to them. Because even this manifesto, this is not our creation. It's as a result of our wide consultation with people of South Africa. They've told us what matters the most to them. So all the IFP that will be able to deliver them.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with going into the elections. But before we go, and I imagine you would also want to address something that happened just before the manifesto, that unfortunately there were multiple people injured in 3 bus accidents that happened. There were 3 buses that were packed with your supporters on the N2. Do you have an update on their conditions, and perhaps maybe you can tell us what happened thereafter?
We didn't get a proper briefing on that one, but what we were told is that apparently one bus was parked along the side, and then the other one came after it and hit it, and then the other one, meaning they were not keeping enough distances. But fortunately, no life was lost. But the driver of one bus was seriously injured, and we hope that he's going to survive in hospital. But there were no injuries at all. And we really, that was a very unfortunate what you call happening. Yes.
Okay. Well, we wish those that were injured in this crash, I think about 36 people, but no lives lost, but we do hope a speedy recovery for those that were going down to the manifesto launch of the IFP at the stadium, the Moses Mabhida Stadium, but we do wish them well. Nkosi, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And we'll certainly be watching the IFP very closely in these elections.
Yes. We're going to do wonders.
Good. Nkosi, wow, have a seat. You can't run away from me yet.
Oh, okay.
We got to pay bills here before you run away. Nkosi Mzamo Mzamo Buthelezi, the IFP Deputy President, talking about the IFP Manifesto.